Hello and welcome to the Punting Green, the show brought to you by Oddschecker and PricedUp.bet as we look ahead to the latest major in the 2026 calendar. It is, of course, the US Open. They'll be coming to you from Shinnecock starting on Thursday. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. I'm your host, George Elliott. Delighted to be joined by Ginger Joe and Niall Lyons. Niall, we'll come to you first because you had a nice winner 2 years in a row, I think it is, isn't it, in the Canadian Open that you backed the winner?
Yeah, cracker. One of those ones where just everything went right for you because, a couple of hours out, I wasn't particularly hopeful. And Collie was just playing all right golf. He wasn't doing anything special, but he was hanging in there. And then back nine was just one of those bizarre punting experiences where just everything goes your way and you barely even get a sweat in the end. Obviously, it was four clear with two to go. And after a bad drive on the last, you kind of get a bit nervous. But uh, yeah, just a strange one to land a 50-1 winner with uh, very little grey hairs added to the head.
Yeah, I could do one of those. Joe, how are you getting on at the moment?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, George. Certainly looking forward to the US Open. We've had a good stretch of tournaments, really. Obviously, we've had the Memorial. The Canadian Open's actually turning into one of my sort of favourite events of the year. Really enjoyed that watch yesterday. I was on Fleetwood and Clark, and at one point we were within two shots of Niall's Bud Corley, and then by the end of it, sort of 6 holes later, we were 5 or 6 back. So it just shows in backs up what Niall was saying. Really brilliant performance from Bud Corley. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for this week. Got a nice squad lined up, so hopefully we can land on a winner.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's get into the event this weekend, the US Open at Shinnecock. Joe, what kind of a test is Shinnecock going to be for these players?
Yeah, this is proper this week, George. Certainly looking forward to this more than I was for the PGA Championship. But we've got a par 70 over 7,437 yards. I'd say Shinnecock Hills is probably one of the purest and toughest tests out there in championship golf. We have seen that before as well. Now, it's unusual to say that because the fairways here are actually quite generous, but you don't want to miss them, that's for sure. But they are reasonably generous for a US Open sort of setting. But I suppose the challenge really does begin from fairway to green. Players are going to be facing a huge amount of long iron approaches into these greens, and it's not like you're going to be able to attack the pins either. They're probably going to be really firm greens. They're elevated. So to be honest, precision around here would be vital. The greens are really well protected as well. And the major factor around here is that when the wind comes up at Shinnecock, it does place a premium on sort of quality ball flight control, a bit of patience, good course management. So this isn't really a venue where you can, you don't even get rewarded for sort of reckless aggression. Instead, you want, a real good quality ball striker, players that hit plenty of greens, and obviously those that are avoiding sort of those big costly mistakes as well. So if you can get a good ball striker that's pretty good at scrambling around the greens when it's required, I think that's probably the right formula for this week. But the US Open is very, very open. Not necessarily interested in the top few in the market this week. I must admit, I don't see where the benefit is of backing Scheffler, where the benefit is of backing Rory, because the way that this course is set up with it being so firm, it does open the field up to a much wider potential amount of winners really from further down in the market. But we've got a proper test and we're not going to have too low scoring, so it should be really good watch.
Yeah, before we get into the players themselves, Niall, Joe mentioned the weather there. It doesn't look like it's going to be pretty breezy on Thursday and Friday. I am currently in America. I'm currently in Kansas City, but I've been in New York and New Jersey last week, and it's been hot. Like, the humidity and the heat has been obvious, but it does look like it's going to be a little bit cooler come this weekend. So what kind of players, any form lines, any kind of course fits you're seeing when you're looking for who you're selecting?
Well, if you look back to 2018, what the players did off the tee didn't really matter in the end. Now, there's a high shot penalty here for missing the fairway. It's half a shot penalty if you miss a fairway here. But crucially, compared to 2018, they've widened the fairways here at Shinnecock for this renewal. It's a bit strange. I don't really know if they need to do it. But one thing that we've seen in recent years, when they do widen the fairways and widen the landing areas, it kind of narrows the gap between the best drivers of the golf ball and the worst drivers. So it kind of negates that bomb and gouge tactics that is often used in US Opens. So it could be a positive in terms of what we see of the types of golfer who could go well here. Obviously, the likes of Aaron Rai. Aaron Rai is only after winning a PGA Championship, we could see more of those guys in the mix again, which I'm all for. Got major championship golf courses for far too long have been set up in favour of the bombers, and maybe these kind of tactics will work. It is interesting looking back in 2018 though. Driving accuracy, the fairways were easy to hit. I think the average was around 72%, and PGA Tour average is around 66. So it was even easier than PGA Tour average to hit fairways here, and they're a lot bigger this time around. So I just think what you do off the tee here is not going to matter. It's from there on. A second shot golf course and approach play will be important, but they do hide the pins away here at Shinnecock notoriously. They're hard to get to. So that mixed with the winds that we're going to have, it's going to be quite windy, especially earlier on Thursday and Friday. Means we're going to miss a lot of greens here. You miss a lot of greens here anyway. The greens are hard to hit, and the right parts of them are hard to hit. So that puts an even bigger premium on short game, scrambling and work around the green. So yeah, elite approach players with an elite short game is what I'm after here this week. And I kind of think, even though, Shinnecock Hills could throw up, some randomness along the way, I expect an elite winner of this. I don't, Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka finished 1 and 2 in 2018, and I could see similar play out. I think the best golfers here will win out.
Okay, yeah. So if you haven't already got a PricedUp account, I would do so and sign up for one now. You can use the link in the show description. Loads up there, loads of boosts every day across multiple sports, and loads over the course of the World Cup as well. So I'd recommend, if you haven't got a PricedUp account, do go and sign up for one now. They are 1/4 to 5 for their place terms for the US Open. And Scotty Scheffler is the 11-2 favourite ahead of Rory McIlroy at 11-1. John Rahm 12-1, Matt Fitzpatrick 18-1, Tommy Fleetwood 18-1, Xander Schauffele and Cameron Young both 18-1 as well. Ludwig Oberg 22-1, Bryson DeChambeau 28-1, Wyndham Clark, who suddenly returned to former winner of this, put up by Niall in that event, is coming back to the form that we've seen in the past. He's 35-1, Brooks Koepka 33-1, Russell Henley 33-1, 40-1, Tyrrell Hatton and all bigger apart from those, and Sam Burns 35-1 as well. No, I'll come to you first. There are a couple that you put up kind of towards the top end of the market. And we will start, I guess, with the shortest price of all of those. John Rahm, 12-1.
Yeah, I quite like his chances this week. Obviously finished second in the PGA in his last major. I haven't been entirely convinced that he's kind of ready to win a major championship. Obviously going to Live has scuppered his chances in many of these in the last couple of years, and he just hasn't quite looked the same. But lately, I feel there's a bit of a change. He played unbelievable with his irons in Live Virginia the week before the PGA, and then obviously finished second. And then last time out at Valderrama, an equally unbelievable performance with the irons. He finished second there to Tyrrell Hatton. I just don't see a weakness here. He's nothing to fear off the tee. He's long enough and he's straight enough. And from there on, his iron play is just really elite, possibly the best in the field at the minute. So that draws me to him. And I don't think approach play is going to be the reason why you win this US Open Championship. So he will need an impeccable short game, but he has got that in abundance, to be fair, and his short game's been quite decent lately. And one thing that I quite like with him, that I like with Fitzpatrick as well, that I'll talk to later on, he's an aggressive putter, and I think you'll need that around the greens. These greens will get slick around here no matter what the weather. And as we've seen back in 2018, Brooks Koepka rammed putts in left, right and centre. Was quite confident over his 48 footers. They weren't dribbled at the hole, and I think Rahm will do the same. And yeah, I think he could go well this week.
John Rahm, 12-1, the first selection for Niall. You've got a couple more selections, Dan, Joe, so we'll stick with you now. And you mentioned their Fitz, so we may as well come straight to Fitz. Another one that sits in your staking plan, a Sea of Blue on Oddschecker. He's kind of early prices have been gobbled up. 18-1 now priced up. What are those like? Fitz's chances here, obviously having a brilliant year on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more bullish about Fitzpatrick the closer the tournament comes in. I really am. Obviously, he's won a couple of times this year already. He was 6th Tita Green in Canada last week, obviously finished runner-up. And if you remember, Aaron Ray finished 5th at Myrtle Beach the week before, going on to win the PGA Championship. And that's happened numerous times now in the last couple of years, where there's just been, you know, a top 10, top 5 performance by someone just off, well, not off the radar, obviously Aaron Ray was, but just not really contending for the win, but just managing a really good finish, which he done in Canada, finished second. Obviously, he didn't really have a chance of winning on Sunday towards the end, but he's got everything going for him around Shinnecock Hills. I think he's 4th in strokes gained approach this year on the PGA Tour, 6th in strokes gained around the green, and 18th in scrambling. It's a perfect combination. Not only that, he's notoriously good on US Open golf courses, tight golf courses, even though the fairways are widened here and the fairways are quite easy to hit. He will not stray too far from them if he does hit a bad shot, which is crucial, because you really do need to miss the big wides here in order to miss that really high rough that's going to punish you without a doubt. And the one thing, slightly worrying thing, would be the putter, but he finished 13th on the greens last week in Canada, so that was a good upturn. It's a good sign. It's a positive sign. And one thing, it's one thing I was kind of looking through the field, really trying to eye up aggressive putters, and he is one. Like I can't even remember where was his last victory. It was at
It was
Heritage. I can't remember whether it was
no,
the Heritage or the Valspar, where
yeah, it was the Heritage, and then he won obviously with his brother the week after.
Yeah, and he won the Valspar too, but it was either the Heritage or the Valspar where he had 2 putts on the last to win it. And I think he raced the first one 3 feet past.
Yeah,
Yeah. There was really no need to, but that's just typical Fitzpatrick. But I'm really looking towards aggressive putters this week. I want someone who's gonna stand over those 4 to 8 footers and ram them in there, and that's what Fitzpatrick will do. If he has a good putting week, I think he's going to be hard to beat here, and he's still quite a decent price in my opinion. This is probably the lowest price he's ever been for a major championship, but sometimes that just results in a victory. It kind of, Francesco Molinari, I think, was probably the shortest he had ever been for a major whenever he won his Open Championship, and things like this just happen to be, and things are aligning perfectly for Fitzpatrick. I'm really kind of confident on him now.
Great stuff. Matt Fitzpatrick, 18-1, currently with priced up the second selection for Niall. Joe, you put up 4 Antiposts, which we'll get to in a second, where you're in a brilliant position with all of them have shortened up since you put them up. But there are 2 more that you've added to your squad in the last day or so. And we'll start with Patrick Reed, who you put up at 40-1 with priced up. What is it about Reed's chances this weekend that you like?
Yeah, I mean, look, Patrick Reed's probably one of these players that goes under the radar quite often. He's not necessarily the most liked within the golf world. However, I think he's quality, and I think he's a really good fit for this sort of golf course too. He does have sort of a proven pedigree at really difficult courses where you need to manage your way to the greens and then obviously try and execute things with the short games. And that's what's enabled him to be so good at places like Augusta. But if you'll find with Patrick Reed, he's even good on sort of links golf courses. He's a really well imaginative, like he thinks out golf courses really well. He's striking the ball really solid this year. And I think when you look at some of the players near the top of the market, your Cam Youngs, even your Russell Henleys, I don't think there's enough between their games for this type of setup for the price to be so big. He's a really solid fit this week. His short game's really good. I don't see why there'll be a problem from him tee to green. He does like to hit quite a big fade, which may not be ideal. But we have seen him move the ball both ways round as well. So I think finding the fairways is going to be no problem for Patrick Reed. And the fact he strikes his long irons so well, he's a really good fit for this golf course. He's way overpriced for the market. So he's crept in the squad last minute. Yeah.
Like it. Patrick Reed, 1 for Joe. Now I'll come back to you then for your next selection. You put up Tommy Fleetwood, Antipost. You've gone back in again this week. A player who seems to be doing what Tommy Fleetwood often does, of kind of knocking on the door, being there on a Sunday, but really just struggling to kind of get in the mixer down the back stretch. He is 18-1 for this weekend. Feels like he's a player who's inevitably going to be there or thereabouts, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I everything the last couple of years has almost been leading up to Shinnecock here. After his performance here in 2018, was he finished with a final round of 63 to threaten Brooks Koepka, finishing second there in the end. And yet, the only surprising thing, obviously, yes, I put him up at Antipost in January at 22-1. He shortened a couple of points, but it was only 1 point each way back then, and I'm looking to add a couple of points each way now this week. The only surprising thing is that he hasn't got a victory this year. He obviously finished 2025 as probably the best informed golfer in the world, so to speak. I know it was Scottish. He was never world number one, so to speak, but he was playing and winning more than anybody else, really, and so consistent. And that consistency's continued this year, to be fair. A handful of top 5 finishes recently. He was 4th in the Memorial then last week, 11th in Canada. He was 9th on approach last week with his irons, which is a good sign, because if there has been a slight weakness this year, it has been his irons. He ranks 44th on the PGA Tour this season in strokes gained approach, which is not really elite, and he would be looking to improve that if he wants to win a major. But the rest of it's perfect. He's 5th around the green and 5th in scrambling this year, and it's just a really typical Tommy Fleetwood golf course, isn't it? Like, everything suits. There's not so much of a premium. I kind of think he would be more suited if there was more of a premium on accuracy off the tee. Like, obviously, the fairways weren't that hard to hit in 2018. They're going to be even easier to hit this year. So I would slightly prefer a bit more premium on accuracy off the tee, but he's not going to get that. But nevertheless, everything points to him having a big week. And it's either this week or it's the Open, and I'm massively keen on him. If he's going to win a major championship, it's going to be this week or it's going to be Birkdale. These are his best 2 chances, in my opinion, of winning a major, and I would worry about him ever winning one if he doesn't land one in the next 2. I think Birkdale's absolutely perfect for him as well. Whether I'll go with him there depends on what he does here this week, but I can't see me not backing him at Birkdale either, whether he wins this regardless. And I was half thinking to myself this morning, I might try and get a couple of the bookies to price up the double the next 2 majors. I just think these 2 setups are absolutely perfect, and if he doesn't contend or win one of the 2 of them, I'd be quite surprised and quite bullish on his chances in the next 2. So yeah, considering what he done here in 2018 and his record in US Open Championships, he's another couple of top 5 finishes in them. It's a perfect scenario. I think he has to be backed.
I will speak to the guys at PricedUp and see if they're up for putting a price up for you. If they do, it'll be under the specials page, the price boost page. Have a look. So if you are listening to this, you fancy Niall's prediction there of possibly a Fleetwood double up in the last 2 majors of the year, check out, and I'll see if I can get the guys to price it up. Yeah, I mean, what a story this would be if Tommy could finally get over the line in a major. I was tempted.
You would worry about the putting.
Yeah.
And maybe on Sunday, like, that's the negative. Like, is he going to be positive enough putting on Sunday? But nevertheless, he putted so well in the final round there in 2018, and he'll have a bit of confidence from that, I think. And just maybe the stars will align.
I'm in New York for the weekend, and I was going to try and go on Sunday, but I just can't really quite make it work with my work commitments out here for the football. But I'm probably going to be in the Westbury in Manhattan, which is a pub with a few owners who, when you walk into the pub on the right, there's Shane Lowry's, a mock-up of Shane Lowry's Open Championship leaderboard when you walk in. I think it's frequented by a lot of golfers. So anyone who's listening to this who wants to watch Tommy win the US Open with me in the Westbury, you'll find me at the bar on a Sunday afternoon. Joe, your second selection in terms of your selections kind of that you put up today rather than Antipost, Ben Griffin, who is what price we're priced up? 70-1 we're priced up about Griffin. Again, Joe, what is it about his chances you like this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's definitely going to be a player for me that's going to be winning a major in the nearish future. And I think the US Open is probably the sort of course that we will see him do that on. He's not a winner at the Masters. He's not going to win an Open Championship. in the UK. So he's either going to be picking up the PGA Championship or the US Open. He's not the best player off the tee. That is my instant concern with Ben Griffin. But like we've mentioned already, the fairways are quite reasonable here, so I can't really see him missing too many. And he is a player that is creeping up, becoming like a real elite approach player. We've seen it in the last sort of 6 to 9 months. His iron play has just got better and better and better. And I think it's actually probably gone under the radar somewhat. He's not a long hitter, but he knows this. He's not one that tries to hit it too far. He's going to try and get himself, quite similar to Patrick Reed, he's going to try and find position off the tee. And from there, that is where he's going to play the hole, from fairway to green. And Ben Griffin has definitely been a player that's been trending in the right direction. We've seen a lot of players win this sort of, their first major here. We've seen sort of likes of Wyndham Clark and a few other players like that. Ben Griffin definitely stands out to me as a major champion in waiting, but there's plenty of players in this market that are a lot shorter than him, which I wouldn't see having a hope in winning a major. The likes of Sam Burns, he can be as good as he wants, he can get as close as he wants, but I think you've really got to have that edge to get over the line in a major, and I think I see that in Ben Griffin. So again, he's one of my later additions to the squad, but he's a really good piece of value at 70 to 1. I'd probably be happy backing him at 40, 45 to 1 with the credentials he has on offer.
Lovely stuff, Ben Griffin there, Joe's second selection. And Niall, rounding off your 4, you mentioned that when Matt Fitzpatrick hits a bad drive, he doesn't miss it by far. Can't say the same about your 4 selection. Cameron Smith, who bounced back to some kind of form in a major championship in the PGA Championship last time seen in this kind of company. He's 100 to 1. So what is it about his chances that you like?
Well, I think that's why we got to take the chance here. Obviously, 7th in the PGA in the last major.
And didn't hold anything when he was in contention, which is so unlike him as well on Sunday.
He was 3rd on approach that week. Like, it was unbelievable with his irons. And we know how good his short game is. His short game's arguably the best in the field. There's not many better. And the last time I think we had a major championship set up as well for Cameron Smith was St Andrews. Wide fairways that you can't miss. It's the same this week. And I honestly, it would really surprise you looking back at 2018 how easy the fairways were to hit. I could not believe it. You would think back, especially with a high scoring as well, that for the fairways to be 6% plus more on than PGA Tour average, easier to hit, it's just phenomenal. And then they've widened them significantly like for this, so it just has to suit Cameron Smith, and he's playing well after driving. His game's impeccable. It's definitely improved of late as well. He was after 7th in the PGA, finished 5th at Valderrama, and Valderrama kind of looks like a decent preparation for this, I must say. Any of the golfers finishing there in the top 5 or 10 that week could be worth a look here. But his approach play was fine, and his putting and game around the greens just exceptional. So there's plenty to like about him, and you're getting a premium on price. So yeah, I just thought he was one. I've kind of went heavy towards the top of the market, so I couldn't afford another golfer around the 40 or 50 to 1 mark. I was looking further down the board, and Cam Smith's definitely one that stands out.
100 to 1. And as you say, bounce back to some form, and as Niall says, with the wide fairways, his trouble shot may not be so troublesome. Joe's desperately trying to get on Cam Smith to the extent he's knocked over his microphone. But Joe, before we let you guys go on, you put up 4 players, Antipost, and as I say, you're in fantastic position with all 4. I'll run through them now, and you can kind of whip through your reason behind the 4 of them and where you kind of are now in terms of the price they currently are. JJ Spawn, you put up at 80 to 1. Justin Rose, you put up at 100 to 1. Wyndham Clark, who, as I mentioned, is bang back in form. You got in ahead of the uptick and got on at 100 to 1. And Tyrrell Hatton, 50 to 1. Those players now, you are looking at the likes of Spawn is 45 to 1 with priced up. We've got Rose, who's 40 to 1 with priced up. Hatton, 40 to 1 with priced up. Wyndham Clark, 35 to 1 with priced up. So, significantly shorter across the 4.
Yeah, really happy with the position. Of course, there's just a small matter of actually winning the tournament now, but from a betting standpoint, we are looking pretty good. I'll just pick them at random, really. We'll start with Wyndham Clark. He is a player who has been dangerously underestimated in at least the last 12 months. Now, in 2023, he won the Wells Fargo and then obviously made the breakthrough by winning the US Open. So that was 2 in 2023. In 2024, he won the 18T at Pebble Beach and carded a round of 60, which not many players can say that they carded around Pebble Beach. And then this year, he has actually bounced back from a poor 2025 to win the Byron Nelson. He then went on and finished second in the Memorial Tournament, and he has just played well there in Canada as well. Now, a lot of people have sort of questioned where his game went in 2025, and I think I can explain why he fell off so significantly. Now, anyone that watches Wyndham Clark is fully aware that he hits a big banana fade. I mean, it's really significant. It's not sort of a 5-10 yard sort of dispersion. It's a 20-25 yard dispersion to bring it back to the fairway. Now, for a player that only hits such a significant fade, that only allows him to play well at a certain amount of golf courses that suit his game. He needed to adopt a draw into his game if he was going to start being able to compete at other courses. Now, if you go and watch what he did at the Byron Nelson, if you go and watch how he played at the Memorial, if you go and watch how he played in the Canada Open, half of his iron shots this time around are actually hitting a draw. And when you watch him in the Byron Nelson, there's a few significant par threes where you have to be hitting a draw shape shot for a right-hander anyway to get the ball close to the hole. And he's hit some seriously good long irons all the way through that tournament, all the way through the Memorial, and the same again through Canada. So I feel like he sacrificed his game in 2025 to get the addition of that draw, and he is now starting to master it. And the fact that he's been able to come back this year with that win, put himself back in contention for the bigger events, he was just far too big to ignore at 100 to 1. He's still currently world number 37, but I think on his best form, he's not too far off the top 10. And if you look at his resume, it stands up against the majority of the field here. So he's dangerously underestimated. The form's come back at the right time, and hopefully we can get the job done. Justin Rose, age has not really been much of a barrier for Justin Rose. Now, that again is quite importantly down to one thing. It's the fact that his game is all about finding the fairways and then hitting a whole big bunch of high quality iron shots at demanding courses. You're not going to see him shoot 7-8 under par rounds, Justin Rose. You'll see him find the fairways, find the right spots on the greens, and then take advantage with his putts too. He's another that's really coming into form this year. He was tied third in the Masters, and if you remember at the beginning of the year, I've actually tipped him to have a massive season. It hasn't quite came to fruition just yet, but I think following the Masters, he switched to the McLaren irons, and that was a real big negative. The fact he was still able to finish tied 10th in the PGA Championship is somewhat a positive, but for a player that demands so much on good quality iron shots, he hasn't been hitting enough, to be fair, in the last couple of weeks. You're sort of seeing him hit these sort of toey draws with some of his irons. It's real unlike sort of Justin Rose and what we've seen from him previously. So that would be my slight worry, but as far as tee to green fit goes and the fact that we're on at 100 to 1, it's certainly a positive for now. Tyrrell Hatton, I will shout to the hills about how he's one of the best golfers in the planet. Tyrrell Hatton, he's got his driver on his string. His iron play is unbelievable when it's on point, and his resume sort of speaks volumes too. Niall was just mentioning Valderrama. Well, last week Tyrrell Hatton was the only player to shoot double figures under par, and he won it quite comfortably as well, without really bringing his A game. But then you look at his resume, he's won at Valderrama, he's won at the Belfry, he's won at St Andrews, Bay Hill, Emirates. It really doesn't matter because he doesn't deviate too far off the line, he doesn't mess with any danger. The only thing getting in the way with Tyrrell Hatton, as we know, is a big head loss, and that is more than possible at a course like this. But if he starts well and he's hitting his driver well off the tee, there is no reason why he shouldn't get heavily involved in this tournament. And then finally, JJ Spawn, another player, hasn't really set the world alight this year, but his game is starting to trend in the right way. If you look at his iron play, that is the bit that's slowly coming back to form. Could be right at the right time as well. Obviously, won this event last year, so he's well coy to major championship golf. And again, another player that's overpriced. So the common trend in my team ultimately is strong iron plays from tee to green that have got a pretty good short game. And we're in a good position for now. But like I said, we've just got to go and actually win the tournament now before we can shout about it.
Great stuff. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Niall. As I say, if you haven't already got a PricedUp account, make sure you sign up for one. I'll speak to the guys. I'll send them a message now and see if they can price up that Tommy Fleetwood special for Niall. You'll find that on site if they are able to. But loads of stuff across different sports. Obviously, the World Cup's going on at the moment. They've got loads of specials and boosts up there. They'll boost some of the guys' selections as well ahead of the weekend. So make sure you check out the possibility of backing these guys win only at the boosted prices. So to recap, Joe has put up Pat Reed and Ben Griffin today. at 40-1 and 70-1. Spawn, Rose, Clark, and Hatton, the Antipost selections. For Niall, it is John Rahm, it's Tommy Fleetwood, it's Matt Fitzpatrick, and it's Cameron Smith. Hopefully, we'll have a few runners going on Sunday. If you back the guys' selections, it should be a brilliant weekend of golf. We'll be back again ahead of the Open Championship in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, enjoy the golf, enjoy the football, enjoy whatever else. Oddschecker have you covered for all your fixed odds betting needs. PricedUp have all the markets up there too that you need. We'll see you again soon. Enjoy the golf, and please ensure that you gamble responsibly.